Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Pauper Ponderings. Again, my name is Austin, and welcome to the most fun place in the Pauper universe. No, that's probably an overstatement. We try to have some fun here anyways. So we're here this week playing a white deck. I actually don't think I've played a white deck in a while, actually, now that I think of it. Like, if we go back, I don't think any of the Tournament Champions decks had white in them. I guess it was Dusk Legion. Aristocrats was the last time we played a white deck. So this week we are playing a deck called Guardians, sent to me by my buddy Snickerdoodle on Reddit, Nichols on MTGO. So this deck is basically a mono-white aggro deck centered around the card Guardian of the Guildpact, hence it being called Guardians. But it's basically just a mono-white aggressive deck with some mid-range elements. We're playing a lot of these, like, you know, cards that you're pretty much familiar with. Thraben Inspector, we have Kor Skyfisher, we have Loyal Cathar. Come on. There we go. Loyal Cathar. We have Prismatic Strands, you know, just a staple in these white archetypes. Come on. Come on. There you go. I love this. It's the it's Crest. No, it's Colgate? I think it's Colgate. It's the toothpaste that is wrapping this guy up. And then we also get to play this new card, Custodi Squire. It's 4 and a white for a 3/3 with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, starting with you, each player votes for an artifact, creature, or enchantment in your graveyard, and then you return all of them with the same amount, or the highest number of votes. It's essentially a Gravedigger in white, which is pretty cool. Very rarely do you even see that. And it's a 3/3 flyer, which is not bad. Tussles with the best of them. We also, now, the cards that we're playing that are a little bit interesting are 3 copies of War Falcon. So this is 1 white for a 2/1 with flying, and it can't attack unless you control a knight or a soldier. So this card is really sweet because every creature in our deck, with the exception of Squadron Hawk, is a soldier or a knight. I actually don't think there's any knights. I think it's just soldiers, I guess, and the Guardian and the Custodi Squire, but the bulk of the creatures are going to be soldiers. The Loyal Cathars are soldiers, Kor Skyfishers are soldiers, the Sentries are soldiers, and the Thraben Inspectors are soldiers. So this thing is going to basically be a 1-mana 2/1 flyer most of the time. On the worst case, this thing's going to block and trade with a Delver. So that's actually huge, and that's why I think it's a fine card. And you put a Bonesplitter on it, you're attacking for 4, no problem. Now we're also playing 3 copies of Loyal Sentry. Come on. Come on. Just not working here. 1 white for a 1/1 human soldier, and when it blocks a creature, destroy that creature and Loyal Sentry. Now you'll notice that this thing is a rare from 10th edition. Well, it just got reprinted in Masters 25 as a common, and this card is actually really cool because it gets around a lot of things. It gets around First Strike. It gets around, you know, creatures being bigger. And I'm actually really excited because, you know, you're able to block a Gurmag Angler and trade, you're able to block an Ulamog Crusher and trade, you're able to block a Big Boggle and trade. I'm really excited for Loyal Sentry. I think this card is going to be really sweet in a lot of matchups that, you know, historically these white ground kind of creature decks have had struggles with. So we're also playing 4 copies of Journey to Nowhere just because it's the best removal spell in white. 4 copies of Squadron Hawk because nothing better that holds a Bonesplitter. Come on. Man, my mouse is really not working right now. Bonesplitter. And then 2 copies of Guardian of the Guildpact. So moving over to the sideboard, we have 3 copies of Last Breath. This is an interesting inclusion from Snickerdoodle, but you know, just having more removal spells in white is huge. It kills a lot of the stuff out of the Delver deck. It also was very good against any of the Elves deck that we play against, where the life total really doesn't matter. It also was very good against the Boros mid-range decks, actually, because all of their creatures have basically 2 or less power. 2 copies of Standard Bearer because we're playing white. A copy of Kor Sanctifiers, just because it's a good catch-all. Another Prismatic Strands in the sideboard. A Gut Shot for the Delver decks that we may play against. Man, my mouse is just not wanting to cooperate. 1 copy of Valor Made Real. This is a very strange name for a card. It almost sounds fake. It's 1 white for an instant. Target creature can block any number of creatures this turn. It's going to be very sweet with Guardian against any sort of smaller monocolor decks. And then finally, 4 copies of Faerie Macabre, because again, just a good... I actually like this type of card over something like a Relic or Nile Spellbomb, just because you're able to, you know, combat those black-red reanimator decks that have become pretty popular. Oh, and finally, we have 1 copy of Disenchant. Now here, I'm gonna pick a hill to die on right now. This is the best Disenchant art, and it's not close. It's not close. You can get at me all you want. Get at me. At Pauper Ponderings 1. Down there. Get at me. This is the best by far Disenchant art. Look at this guy. Oh, just get at me. I want to know what you think is the best Disenchant art, because this is by far the best one. The one thing I forgot to mention was, because we're playing a mono-white deck, we actually get to play Quicksand out of the sideboard, which is a pretty cool card. Taps for a colorless, or you can tap and sacrifice it and target attacking creature without flying gets -2 till end of turn. So this is actually just pretty decent against a lot of... one of the best ways, actually, I like this card is because against Delver, if they have like a Faerie Miscreant or something, and then they flash in the Ninja, if you have a Quicksand up, that's a pretty good trade for you. You're able to kill the Ninja, and you trade a land for it, but a land for a 4-mana 2/2 is pretty powerful. And then also, obviously, 4 copies of Secluded Steppe. So I actually think this deck is pretty powerful. I'm pretty excited going into these matches. I think this deck is a lot more well-tuned than the deck we played last week. But yeah, hopefully we can win some matches, get some interesting games, and I'll see you for round number 1. Alright, so in round number 1, we kept this hand. It had a Plains, a Secluded Steppe, Squadron Hawk with double Thraben Inspector, Bonesplitter, and Aven Riftwatcher. This is basically the perfect hand. Also, shout out to this pop filter, or whatever this thing is. I feel like I'm sounding way better. Hopefully, tell me in the comments if I sound better. I think I do. Yeah, shout out to this thing. Anyways, so we kept this pretty decent hand. We started off with a Thraben Inspector and passed the turn. We realized right away our opponent was playing the red-black Reanimator deck. So we get in there with Insolent Neonate. He obviously, he blocks and discards the Ulamog's Crusher. We play another Thraben Inspector. We have double clues. We figure the worst here, but it's actually just a Cathartic Reunion. And this is kind of the spot that I want to point out, because right now, you know, he Cathartic Reunion into double Ulamog's Crusher. He has double Ulamog's Crusher in the graveyard. His hand is pretty good, and all we can really do is present a clock. So that's kind of what we start to do. We present a clock here, attack him for 4, puts him down to 16. We pass. On his turn, he casts another Faithless Looting. This deck just has so many tools. And there's the Exhumes, brings back the Ulamog's Crusher. We're able to play a Squadron Hawk. Go and get 2 more Squadron Hawk. We can't really attack. He attacks us, and then this is kind of the worst part here. Oh, actually, no, he Shred Memories for an Exhume. Passes it back, and this is kind of the spot where you don't feel too bad here, right? He has to spend his turn casting this Shred Memory, which essentially goes and gets him another Exhume. It doesn't really add anything to board, and we've kind of built ourselves a pretty decent clock. We're able to play another Bonesplitter. We equip it. We get in there for 6. We keep this Thraben Inspector back, which I actually think ends up being a mistake. Just because the fact that he's going to bring another Ulamog's Crusher back, we probably wanted to sacrifice this Thraben Inspector. And it really wasn't going to block anyways. So there's the Exhume. He brings back the Ulamog's Crusher. Because actually right now, what our plan would be to sacrifice the Thraben Inspector, and then sacrifice a land, put the Bonesplitter on the Squadron Hawk, and we still have a 2-turn clock, but it kind of really doesn't work out that way because he had the Bloodfell Claves to go up to 11. So see here, we actually end up sacrificing the this tapped Thraben Inspector, and the other Thraben Inspector end up taking 8 and going to 4. And then he plays a Gurmag Angler. So the game really was over at that point. But it is important to note that if we would have done that the other way and he doesn't have Bloodfell Caves, there's actually a situation where we maybe win this game. Like on this turn, we can equip the Bonesplitter. The fact that he has 3 creatures is not good, but there was definitely a situation where we could have won, right? Like, let's say he only has the Ulamog's Crusher. We can, you know, play double Squadron Hawk, attack him with the 1 Squadron Hawk, put him down to 7, and then possibly get back into it, but we're sacrificing 4 permanents, so it probably is a moot point, but not attacking with that Thraben Inspector was definitely a mistake. So we'll go to game number 2. Alright, so for game number 2, we end up keeping Kor Skyfisher, Plains, Aven Riftwatcher, War Falcon, Quicksand, Loyal Sentry, Kor Skyfisher. This is actually a matchup where Loyal Sentry is fantastic. It's actually able to trade with the Gurmag Angler and the Ulamog's Crusher, so that's pretty huge for us. This also allows us to get the beats going early. We have that turn 1 War Falcon, which is insane, because followed up with the Loyal Sentry lets us attack for 2. He has a Bloodfell Caves. We play the Plains and just play out the Loyal Sentry and attack for 2. We don't really want to stymie our mana development with the Kor Skyfisher. he just casts a Faithless Looting discard. It's actually important to Ulamog's Crushers. So we pretty much know that the Ulamog's Crushers coming into play. You gotta, with all the discard, this guy has actually so much card filtering, you know, with Faithless Looting and Cathartic Communion. These are two cards that are so busted, and you can see that how good they are in the modern Dredge deck, and just that much filtering and that much velocity is huge in the Pauper format, especially out of red. So we get in there for 3, put him down to 16. We then play an Aven Riftwatcher. Again, we have the option to play the Skyfisher there, but it isn't any more power than the Riftwatcher is. And then next turn, we actually get to play double Kor Skyfisher if we want to. And that's just using our mana more efficiently. So on his turn, he ends up Juki blocking us, which is nothing, and then gets that Ulamog's Crusher back. But here you see, we have a pretty decent Air Force. We have double Flyers to attack him for 4. We get to play 2 more Flyers if we want to, plus we have the Loyal Sentry. So we really see how kind of mediocre Ulamog's Crusher actually is. So here we play a Skyfisher, we bounce the Aven Riftwatcher, and then play another Skyfisher, giving us another 2-turn clock. He has to attack with the Crusher. We end up sacrificing a land and the War Falcon. Or sorry, 2 lands. My mistake. Which probably was a mistake. We maybe should have sacrificed the War Falcon, but right now we have that 2-turn clock. So that is important to note, and that's why we kept it like that. So now he's actually forced to just shred memory for another Exhume, and this is the spot where you can really put this deck on the back foot. He's just kind of spending his entire turn doing nothing, and we have a 2-turn clock still, and that's really why it made sense to sacrifice the 2 planes, and obviously I knew what I was doing at the time. So we untap. We kind of got unlucky. We should have left the Quicksand to play. This is actually important to note. He concedes because he realizes he doesn't have anything left, but we should have left the Quicksand in play with the Kor Skyfisher, because now we draw Loyal Cathar and actually just get absolutely punished because we have this Quicksand in play when it should be another plane. So that was a mistake for sure. We were basically banking on him having nothing there. He ended up having nothing. We had 6 power points worth of attacking power. This was definitely interesting. We rode a pretty thin line sacrificing both of those planes, but we kind of put him on having nothing, and sometimes against these decks where you're not going to win the game if the game goes long anyways, right? Like if we're able to give him 2 turns there instead of if we're able to give him 3 turns instead of the 2 turns, maybe he comes back and wins, right? So in this spot, it was important for us to maintain that 2-turn clock, and that's what we did, and it ended up winning this game. Alright, so for game number 3, we end up keeping this hand because we have the Loyal Sentry plus a Thraben Inspector as 1-drops. We can play the Kor Skyfisher, which is good with the Thraben Inspector. The Quicksand is not great. We do need a 3rd land, but this hand is more than fine. He starts off with a Bloodfell Caves. We start off with a Thraben Inspector, which is great. We drew the Bonesplitter. That's one of the best cards in this matchup. You're really just trying to put a clock on him, because at the end of the day, his best draw is going to beat our best draw. There's just no bones about it. His strategy is more powerful than ours, so you really just are looking to put as much of a clock on them as possible. That's kind of just the philosophy of these aggro decks. So we lead off with a Bonesplitter. We get in there for 1. We want to play the Loyal Sentry. The reason, so here, this is actually huge. The reason we played Loyal Sentry instead of equipping Bonesplitter and the Thraben Inspector is because we realized that he discarded, where is it? Dragon Breath. So this is 1 in a red, and when a creature with confirmed mana cost 6 or greater enters the battlefield, you get to attach the Dragon Breath to it automatically. So if he is able to play land, Faithless Looting, discard the Gurmag or an Ulamog's Crusher, and then entomb it, it actually gets haste. So that's why we played the Loyal Sentry. The Loyal Sentry then blocks the Ulamog's Crusher, and we get away with, you know, not the greatest thing in the world, but we're probably still fine. If we were to equip the Bonesplitter, we don't have the Loyal Sentry in play. He gets to smack us for 8. We have to sacrifice 2 permanents. Then we play Loyal Sentry, and then we have to sacrifice 2 more permanents. So that is why we played the Loyal Sentry and not equipped the Bonesplitter. Very important to watch for these Dragon Breaths. So here he has 3 mana for a Shred Memory, and he goes and gets a Exhume. On our turn, we simply equip up and attack for 4. We realize that he doesn't have it this turn. He's probably not going to have it next turn, and we're actually able to put a bunch more stuff into play so that Ulamog's Crusher attack isn't as brutal. So see here, he's kind of wasting all of his resources. We realize that, again, with this deck, it's very important for you to understand that a lot of the time you have to pick your spots. And there we decided to pick our spot. We picked our spot. We figured that he actually did not have it. When he actually shred memory for the Cathartic Reunion instead of the Exhume, that's when we knew we were pretty in good shape to just start attacking as much as we could. And we turned the corner and started to put pressure on him. Get in there for 5, put him to 11, play another Thraben Inspector, and then the Kor Skyfisher. Bounce to land, played the land. He then cast Faithless Looting from his graveyard. Again, here we see how in trouble he is. He's putting all of these resources, not really putting anything on the board. We already have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points of power in play. He does play a Gurmag Angler here, but again, we're pretty well set up. We have 2 flyers. Puts the Dragon Breath on it, but he really can't even afford to attack here. We have the Loyal Sentry back. We move over those 2 equipments, get in for 6, put him to 5, cast another Kor Skyfisher, and the writing is essentially on the walls here. That was the incorrect play, though. We probably should have just bounced the Kor Skyfisher, played the other Kor Skyfisher. Here we're looking to crack the clue to possibly find a removal spell. I think this opens us up to a removal spell, making it so he survives, so this probably wasn't the best play. We should have just bounced, and see, that's kind of what happened there. He's able to Lightning Axe the Kor Skyfisher, and we realized that that was the incorrect play. But here we see he was not able to find anything because he's still dead with the Bonesplitter on the Kor Skyfisher and then attacking with our 2 1-drops. So we are able to win match number 1 over Red-Black Reanimator. Hopefully we can keep it going for match number 2. Alright, so game number 1, we're on the play again. And we end up keeping this 6. We scry a Plains to the top. We keep Thraben Inspector. This is a pretty solid 6. So lead off with the Thraben Inspector, one of the best turn 1 plays in the format. We then play a Plains, attack for 1, and then intend to crack the clue end of turn. Oh, actually, we play the Kor Skyfisher, just getting more pressure into play. He has the Lightning Bolt for the Kor Skyfisher. Here we have another Thraben Inspector. Gives us another clue. We're looking to just crack a clue end of turn. He has a Kor Skyfisher. Bounces his land, plays his Boros Garrison. End of turn, we crack a clue, get a Loyal Cathar, end up playing the Journey to Nowhere on his Kor Skyfisher, attacking for 1, and then play the Bonesplitter end of turn. He plays a Windscarred Crag, we equip up our Thraben Inspector, attack in for 3, and then cast Loyal Cathar. And here he Galvanic Blasts our Thraben Inspector in response, no problem there. So this is a big distinction for this this Boros midrange deck, or Boros Sideboard, whatever you want to call it. It used to be called Boros Sideboard. I think it's just like Boros midrange now, or whatever. You can see right now, we have, you know, a creature in play, 2 cards in hand. He has 6 cards in hand still. You can really see this Boros deck is able to leverage so much card advantage. It is insane. Plays a Glinthawk as well. So our Loyal Cathar comes back end of turn. We definitely pick up on the fact that this Guardians of Guildpact is insane in this matchup, though, and we figured that getting it out into play is much more important than getting in for 4 here, just because over time, attacking for 4 with basically a True Nemesis is going to be better than possibly trading our Unhallowed Cathar for his Kor Skyfisher and playing another couple of creatures. So we end up taking 2 down to 18. We draw Plains. We equip up here, figuring that if he wants to trade, we're into trade. He does not trade. We play a Loyal Cathar. And we decide here, actually, we kind of get him in a sense, in that instead of playing Loyal Sentry, we leave up the clue, and he Electricries us end of turn to destroy the back half of the Loyal Cathar. I want to say we got him, but this was kind of... I definitely at the time was like, I probably should have played this Loyal Sentry, but it worked out very well for us. So there's his own Thraben Inspector. There's a Kor Skyfisher. He ends up bouncing his Radiant Fountain. And he gets in for 4. This is kind of where the tables start to turn a little bit. We draw a card. We end up equipping, attacking for 4. We played a bunch of guys. There's another Radiant Fountain. He goes back up to 11. Journeys our Aven Riftwatcher. He attacks us down to 12. And we kind of think we're okay here. We actually have the Bonesplitter. And we get in there with both of our creatures. We put him down to 3. But this is just where... And then he has the Alchemist File. So the Alchemist File, a very good card. It's able to kind of stop the Guardian from attacking for a turn. But anyone who's played against this Boros deck probably knows what's happening at this point now. He gets in there for 6. We go down to 6. We go to attacks. We actually move our... So we move our stuff around here. Because again, if he Alchemist Files the Guardian, we don't have lethal. If we do it like this, then he can stop this one. We don't have lethal if he uses the Alchemist File. He doesn't use the Alchemist File, which we basically realize means he has the Prismatic Strands, which he does, and the game ends on the spot. So game number 2. Alright, so in game number 2, we keep this hand, which looks pretty solid. We have a turn 1 Thraben Inspector, which is always good. We also have a Last Breath of the sideboard, which, as you recognized in the first game, basically destroys every creature in his deck, along with a Journey to Nowhere. And the Loyal Cathar, which is quite good in this matchup. We load up with a Thraben Inspector. He loads up with a Windswept Crag. We unfortunately draw another Secluded Steppe, but we get in for 1. He draws Radiant Fountain and passes the turn. We draw a War Falcon, which is a pretty decent draw, but we just play the Loyal Cathar and pass. He has a Journey to Nowhere for the Loyal Cathar, and then plays a Glint Hawk. Turns a land to his hand. This is actually, we actually get paid off for the choice that we made. We get to be a little bit more mana efficient here, and we're able to Last Breath his Glint Hawk, get in for 1, and attack for, and then play the War Falcon afterwards. So we play an Aven Riftwatcher and another Thraben Inspector and get in for 3, putting him down to 21. He plays a Radiant Fountain back up to 23 and passes. We draw a Custodi Squire, which is pretty decent, and we attack in for 7. And draw some cards, play a land. Goes back up to 19. He actually just doesn't do anything for a long time, which I thought was quite strange. Get in there for another 6. Play another Riftwatcher, play a Thraben Inspector, and ship the turn. He again passes. We lose a Riftwatcher, but go up to 26 in the process. The nice thing about the Custodi Squire is it actually gets it back for us. We figure he's just sitting on a bunch of Prismatic Strands, and here he finally casts one. And then second main, we go ahead and play our Gravedigger, getting us back the Riftwing Cloudscape, or sorry, the Aven Riftwatcher, I should say. There's a Galvanic Blast on the Squire. There's a War Falcon. We go ahead and attack with everybody again. And for the second time, he has the other Prismatic Strands. And again, we were pretty much certain he was sitting on a bunch of these things. But as he's on 3 cards, we continue to kind of just grind him out, make this gigantic board. We have a Clue token we're going to sacrifice in a turn. We have this Journey to Nowhere for the Glint Hawk, which is great. Now this is all good for him here. He's drawing a bunch of cards, but... the good thing about what he's doing right now is, you know, we're going to be able to deal with the Skyfisher end of turn, and then our flyers either get to trade with his Glint Hawks or just attack right through them. So it's pretty good. We Journey to Nowhere that. He ends up just taking everything. We bounce the Riftwing, or the Aven Riftwatcher, or sorry, the Thraben Inspector, just kind of valuing the cards here. So he has a Journey to Nowhere, goes for our Kor Skyfisher. We draw another card. It's a Squadron Hawk, which is going to give us quite the amount of flying attackers, that is for sure. Get in there with everybody. He uses the Prismatic Strands there. We then play our Squadron Hawk, going to get 2 more Squadron, or all 3 of our Squadron Hawks, sorry. We actually only play 1, though, because we basically, at this point, have him dead set on Electrickery. Just the way this game is played out, he hasn't really done anything, so we figured it was probably Prismatic Strands along with some Electrickeries. And we just played the 2 Squadron Hawks. He doesn't have the Electrickery there, which is fine. And the reason, so we figure he's still on Electrickery, so we're going to be very liberal with our Squadron Hawk blocks. Still doesn't attack, which is fine for us. We lose the Riftwatcher. Go up to 32. Play a Quicksand, and again, we're just sending these War Falcons in all day. And there's the Electrickery, which we figured that he had. Pretty much paid off fairly well for this Squadron Hawk. Play another one. At this point, we kind of figure we're playing with house money. This is where he goes to attack. And we snap double block. Again, we're playing with house money with these Squadron Hawks. They were essentially free, and they were going to get Electrickery if we didn't play around it anyways, so. And it works, and we're ecstatic about that. We draw Guardian of the Guildpact, which is an insane draw. Now we start attacking with everybody. The reason we attacked with everybody here, pretty important, is he might have had a card, it's the double white sacrificing, attacking, or blocking creature. So we didn't want to just get our Guardian of the Guildpact edicted like that. There was the reason why we just suicided in those Thraben Inspectors. Draw Journey to Nowhere, which was a pretty decent draw. Go ahead and take out this Glinthawk. He casts the Prismatic Strands in response, so we just don't bother attacking. Casts an Alchemist Vial, draws another card. We draw another Guardian of the Guildpact. Attack in for 4. Play another True Nemesis. Get in there for 4. Lightning Bolts our Thraben Inspector. At this point, we basically can't lose the game, and he concedes on the next turn. Alright, so for game number 3, we're on the draw. We end up keeping this hand. It's a little slow, as you can see. We have a bunch of lands. Our first turn play isn't until a Aven Riftwatcher, as the Kor Skyfisher in turn 2 really isn't that exciting. But we have a Secluded Steppe to cycle, which doesn't feel the worst. He has a Lone Missionary to go up to 25. We cycle the Secluded Steppe. We draw Guardian of the Guildpact, which is insane with all these lands in our hand. And now we're pretty much off to the races. We have a pretty decent curve out of Aven Riftwatcher into Guardian of the Guildpact with some removal spells. So we're definitely not too sad about that. And we just slam this Guardian of the Guildpact. We know it's going to be insane against him. He gets in there for 2. Play another Riftwatcher and a Thraben Inspector, and then get in for 2 ourselves. Start that climb towards 26 life. He plays a Battle Screech, which isn't the worst for us, but it's not too bad. We draw the Bonesplitter, and we kind of had this plan to just keep playing creatures, and that's why we didn't equip the Bonesplitter. There was definitely a reason. Here we kind of get blown out, but the fact that he had to have 2 cards, right? Like, we thought it was okay because we knew that for that double block to go bad, he had to have 2 cards, and he had 2 cards. The Electrickery was not very good against us, so we let him kind of get value out of it, but you know, we still used 2 cards for 2 cards, and we're not going to feel too upset about that exchange. We still have this Guardian of the Guildpact, which we get to start Bonesplittering up next turn. It's just kind of, it is important to realize that we went for that double block because he had to have 2 cards for it to backfire for us. We draw a Squadron Hawk, we play a Bonesplitter, we equip it up, and get in for 4. With our plan to Prismatic Strands him. Because now we figure we can win the race now, especially with the Squadron Hawks that we have. Here, again, very important that we attack with the Thraben Inspector to not get... I just can't remember what that card is. Go and get some Squadron Hawks. Again, being very patient here. Only playing one other Squadron Hawk here, in an attempt to not get completely blown out by Electrickery. So we go ahead and we're okay with this double block. He then has the Electrickery, so pretty happy about it. We then Prismatic Strands in response. He plays a Glinthawk. We still have this 4-power True Nemesis coming at him every turn, though, so get in for 4. We have 2 more Squadron Hawks. We definitely tapped our mana wrong there because we're terrible. We take it that time. Get in there for 4 once again. And yeah, he realizes that he's going to go down to the True Nemesis. So, pretty cool match. I want to apologize for everyone who thought I was going to do live games this time. It's just actually every single match that I played, you can see how close we were on time here. Every match was just a slog this week. This deck was very grindy, and I started to edit it, and unfortunately, you know, I have a bunch of other commitments, and it was really just taking me so long. I hope that this is a fair kind of representation of this deck, but I do want to apologize to everyone who... Next week, almost assuredly, it will be live games, so I do apologize that this is re-recorded games. But, off to round 3, we are 2-0. Alright, so for round number 3, we are on the play again. This hand seemed pretty decent. We have a bunch of lands with a Thraben Inspector and a Kor Skyfisher. Can't really go wrong. So we lead off on the Thraben Inspector. And we're up against Blue-Red Delver. He leads off on a Delver of Secrets. Get in there for 1. Go ahead and play this Kor Skyfisher. Bounce back the Thraben Inspector. He flips his Delver because he's a luck sack. He attacks. We gladly accept this trade. And he just casts a Preordain. And another Delver of Secrets. Tap, we play a Thraben Inspector into a Squadron Hawk. Goes and gets us 3 more Squadron Hawks. You can really see how bad Loyal Sentry looks in this matchup. So obviously it is terrible in this matchup. It was pretty bad in the last matchup as well. We ended up boarding them out in round 2. There's a Preordain. Almost surely figure he's going to be... So here, the reason that we didn't attack with the Squadron Hawk was because we wanted to get the Loyal Cathar in play. This card is just very, very good against the Delver deck. It's 2 threats. It basically trades with all of their creatures, and we wanted to be able to double block his Delver with our Squadron Hawks. So, as we predicted, the Delver flipped into an Insectile Aberration. Played a Faerie Miscreant. Cast a Gush. Did not attack into our double Squadron Hawk. Here we sent in the Loyal Cathar. And we get our Squadron Hawk Spellstutter sprited, which was unfortunate, and we just cast out a Loyal Sentry, which again looks pretty bad in this board state. Cast the Preordain. Still can't really attack. We have the Bonesplitter, unfortunately, get Spellstutter sprited as well. Get in there for another 2. And play a Riftwing Cloudskate, which is pretty decent on this board. And in this spot, we were actually feeling pretty good about this game. He has an Augur of Bolas. And a Brainstorm. But again, if you look at the cards in hand, he has 5, we have 2. Down goes our Riftwing Aven Riftwatcher. We get in there for 2. The Augur of Bolas conveniently blocks our Loyal Cathar quite well. And we just played a Loyal Sentry and pass. Pretty much playing heads up at this point. And at this, we know that he has the removal spell. So this is an interesting spot to think about here. We can either single block the Insectile Aberration, or we can double block it and make him have it. At this point, he's got a bunch of cards in hand. He's done a bunch of stuff. I think if we just sit there and just let him do that, I just don't think it's as good. Right, next turn, if we attack with, he just takes this for 2 more turns. It's going to die. We have this Squadron Hawk. We at least force him to do something in this spot, and that's why I double blocked. Draw land. Get in there for 2 once again. We maybe should have held back, but we figured he just wouldn't have attacked, and the Aven Riftwatcher just would have died on a turn anyways. The Ninja the Deep Hours gets in there, draws him another card. And you can see how fast these games start to just spiral out of control for this deck. This is just so powerful. And even Guardian of the Guildpact, he just lets it resolve. Spreads the Loyal Cathar. We get an Loyal Cathar on the backswing. He plays out another Spellstutter Sprite. Plays out a Delver Secrets. Gets in there with the Flyers. We draw Prismatic Strands, and this is a card, at this point, we possibly think we can leverage to beating him. It was a very good draw. We end up taking this down to 5. Attack him down to 6. Play the Skyfisher, and unfortunately gets countered. We actually get really, really close here. So he attacks with everybody. We have the Strands. It resolves. He's only on 3 cards. We untap, draw the Inspector. We actually then draw another Guardian of the Guildpact, and I start to get really excited here because now we're him not having a counterspell away from winning the game in a game that we did not think was possible to win. He untaps. So this is important too, right? We do it on his upkeep, and he has the Dispel, which is just so backbreaking. Oh, we were so close. And this was a game, again, unfortunately, everything just went a little bit too long. I really wish this would have been live because I was so close to winning this game, you can see, and he had the Dispel. Obviously, he may have had another counterspell, but he probably would have counterspelled this Guardian of the Guildpact, so just what a crazy game, and really looked like we were out of it 100%, but a couple really well-timed top decks, and it really turned into quite the slugfest. But off to game 2. All right. Backs against the wall. Very good hand, in my opinion. We have the War Falcon with a bunch of Thraben Inspectors. He leads off with a Faerie Miscreant. Here we play Thraben Inspector. So here, the reason that I attack into this Faerie Miscreant is that I actually just want to keep the board as clear as possible, so I can hopefully resolve this Guardian of the Guildpact through, nothing like a Ninja or anything like that. So we go ahead and attack. He blocks. His turn, he ends up having to pass. We play a land, we attack, and we're able to play a Riftwing Aven Riftwatcher here. So now, another important thing to note here. We could have played the Riftwatcher, or we could have played the Thraben Inspector and left up a clue. The reason I decided to play the Riftwatcher instead of the Thraben Inspector is because the tempo. If he has a Spellstutter Sprite, and he's able to Spellstutter Sprite our Thraben Inspector, sure, we get to crack this clue, but he's just so far ahead on tempo. If we play the Riftwatcher, it forces him to have Counterspell, and now he has not progressed his board at all. So now, if he wants to do something, he's going to have to let us resolve this Guardian of the Guildpact. Very important distinction to make is to not let them get those free Spellstutter Sprites. And there we didn't, and I think it goes a long way into us going forward in this game. Don't want to spoil anything. So here he's kind of forced to do something, and that's play out a Stormbound Geist, which allows us to resolve the Guardian of the Guildpact, which is obviously insane and against this deck. We definitely should have attacked with the Thraben Inspector there. We just didn't realize this thing can't block it. Plays another Stormbound Geist. We draw a Journey to Nowhere. He has the Scred for it to save it, essentially, but we have another Journey to Nowhere, luckily. And we start to win this race pretty handedly with our True Name Nemesis. So here there's no reason to not play the... And there again, and see, he had the Spellstutter Sprite. So think about how different this game would have been if he actually just got to hold up a counterspell and counterspell this Guardian of the Guildpact. That was a huge turn, and it actually decided this game easily. And that's just how diverse this Pauper format is. Crack Clue trying to draw a land. We end up drawing a land, so that's good. He sends in for 3, puts us down to 13. We're able to crush back to put him down to 14. We have the Journey to Nowhere. He has the counterspell. Put him down to 9. saving the gut shot for, you know, something like a Delver. Something that would really swing the race for us. There's a Kor Skyfisher. Play Kor Skyfisher. We're hoping to get that Spellstutter Sprite value, but we don't. Plays a Delver. That's kind of in the spot that we wanted it. He can't even really attack. We attack him for 2. We kind of get a little punished here as we draw the Bonesplitter off of the clue, but fair enough. We still, and he goes down. So you can see how important it was to not let him get tempo with his Spellstutter Sprite. And I think we actually just lose the game on the spot if we try to resolve that Thraben Inspector, rather than just play this Riftwatcher into this counterspell. There's no reason for him to play the Stormbound Geist on turn 3 if we're leaving up that clue there, and it really went a long way, and I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think that was a pretty good play. Alright, so for the last game, we keep a pretty decent hand again. We have double Bonesplitter, which is one of the best cards against him, along with the Loyal Cathar and the Thraben Inspectors. This is just a solid hand all around. We're hoping for not a turn 1 Delver. And he doesn't have anything. So we lead off with a Thraben Inspector and pass. He goes turn 2 Preordain, which is good for us, into a Faerie Miscreant. We have the Bonesplitter and immediately get in there for 3 damage. It's really important to put this deck on the back foot. The way you win a lot of these games is you get into these race situations, right? They're going to have a bunch of flyers with, you know, 1 power and sometimes these 3 power. If you can put them down enough life so that you can push them and make them have to block, that's the games you're going to win. And that's why we, instead of, you know, playing a Thraben Inspector or Loyal Cathar, we got in for 3 damage there. So he gets in for 1. He has the Ninja, and again, this is a spot where we're trying to mitigate. We are trying to mitigate the cards that he draws. Right? We obviously have the Journey to Nowhere here, and it's fantastic. But if we're able to put him on the back foot, Ninja is not a very good card. He's not going to be able to use all 6 cards in his hand versus, you know, all of our 4 cards. And that's what you want to do against this deck, is put them on the back foot, make them play defense, and not let them use their cards efficiently. When they can just sit there, attack for 1, play a draw spell, pass the turn. Attack for 1, play a draw spell, pass the turn, where their life total isn't in jeopardy, you fall behind very quickly, and that's why that deck is so good. When you're able to start putting a clock on them as fast and aggressively as possible, they aren't able to do that. But here we're obviously going to take the opportunity to just free Journey to Nowhere his Ninja. We can also add pressure with another Thraben Inspector, which is huge, so he plays out an Augur of Bolas, which is fantastic for us because we have another Bonesplitter, which lets us attack through this Augur of Bolas very easily. Boom, in for 6. He can't even really afford to block. He goes down to 8. He has a Miscreant, but our board is just so overwhelming right now. Get in there with everybody. He ends up double blocking. This was a big mistake from us. Huge mistake. Huge mistake. We decided to kill the Augur of Bolas instead of the Faerie Miscreant, and on first look, it looks so easy. You just easily kill the 1/3, but you always want to take those fairies off the board. And as good as my play was with the Aven Riftwatcher in Game 2, this was equally as bad. Leaving him Faerie Miscreant left our Kor Skyfisher open to get Spellstutter Sprited, and, well, he didn't have it, but that's just a situation that it can happen so easy. He has Stormbound Geist. It doesn't really matter. We draw that end of turn. Put it on the Loyal Cathar. Attack with everybody. He gets to block. He has the Lightning Bolt, but the writing is essentially on the walls here. We have just way too much stuff going on. Crack the clue end of turn. Go for the Journey to Nowhere. Kind of just force the issue, right? In spots like this, you want to force the issue. If we attacked first, our Journey to Nowhere in the Stormgust makes him use mana. And as long as he's using mana, that means that his life total is going to be in jeopardy because he won't be able to have the amount of counter spells necessary or removal spells necessary to stop him. Here we just attack with both of our flyers. It doesn't matter. He can't block the Loyal Cathar, and he is defeated. So we actually go 3-0 with Guardians against 3 real decks. I'm really impressed with this deck. Good job, Snickerdoodle. Thank you very much. We're going to talk about it a little bit more in the conclusion, but 3-0, guys. Actually, we lost every game 1-2, so excited to talk about how good this deck did in the conclusion. Alright guys, so we were able to go 3-0 playing Guardians. I really like this deck. I think that this deck is doing a lot of things very, very well. A lot of these cards are just, you know, just staples of the format mixed in with some kind of niche cards that really overperformed. I thought War Falcon was very good every time we drew it. Just being a 2-power flyer is huge in this format. Trading with Delvers, attacking, you know, into Glint Hawks. This card was very good. Loyal Sentry, in the matchups that it was good, it was very good. You know, in that Ulawok matchup where we were able to block and trade with it, that was fantastic, and I think that its inclusion is fine in this deck. You know, as for the Kor Skyfishers, the Squadron Hawks, the Loyal Cathars, those cards were as good as advertised. They're always going to be good. Aven Riftwatcher, another card that really surprised me. That life buffer was pretty good in a lot of racing situations. Being a 2-3 is just fantastic. The fact that you're able to bounce off a Kor Skyfisher, eat Glint Hawks, trade with Delver of Secrets, this card is very, very powerful. Gaining you 4 life, essentially, when it comes into play, is nothing to smirk at in this format. Obviously, Prismatic Strands, the card is very powerful. It's going to allow you to steal games you have no business winning. That double fog effect is great. You also have the 2 copies of Guardian of the Guildpact. I would actually probably consider moving this Custodi Squire into a 3rd Guardian of the Guildpact. That's how good this card felt in this deck. Moving over to the sideboard, I was really impressed with Last Breath. I thought that card overperformed big time. The Gut Shot was obviously good. We didn't get to see a lot of the other cards. That Aura Fracture would have been sweet. I love this card. It's just like, screw you, Boggles. We're never losing to you. I'm willing to sacrifice all of my lands so that you can't completely destroy me. But yeah, this deck really overperformed. Again, thank you to Snickerdoodle for sending me this list. If you have any questions, please make sure you don't put them down in the comments. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe, leave me a comment. I'm probably going to be raffling off this Pauper print. If not next video, the video after that. The contest details will be there. I can't really find a good spot for it in my room or my house. So we will be raffling this Ponder print off because you guys seem to like the last one. But again, thanks for watching, guys. I will see you next week. This weekend's WrestleMania. If you're a wrestling fan, hope you're as excited as I am. Comment down below who you think is going to win. Charlotte Flair or Asuka. That's the match I'm really looking forward to. So comment down below. Asuka or Charlotte Flair. Very important. Let's just say, you know what, actually? Very funny. I have all my picks right here. Hold on one second. We're gonna bring this in. We're gonna talk about this for a second. Alright, so for anyone who's not a wrestling fan, I guess you can stop watching. But this weekend is WrestleMania, and you know what? Today I decided while I was editing this video to write my picks down for the matches this week. So here they are right here. Nobody can say that I was cheating or anything. This is live proof of my picks. Today is Tuesday. This video is going to be on Thursday, so no sorts of wishy-washiness. Let's make a bet here. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 matches. So I have my picks for all 11 matches here. Let's say if I'm right on, alright, so down below, you can either bet that I'm going to get 6 out of 11 right, or I'm gonna get 6 out of 11 wrong. So I can get 6 right and I win, or 6 wrong and I don't win. Down below, after you see my picks, take a guess and think if you think I'm going to get them right or not. And who knows? Maybe we'll have a giveaway next week in honor of my picks. So the first match is Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar. Obviously, it's going to be Roman Reigns. No question there. Next match, AJ Styles against Shinsuke Nakamura. I think this is one of the closer ones. I'm going to go with AJ Styles. We have the Bar against Braun Strowman and an unknown opponent. There's no way Braun Strowman doesn't win this match, so I'm going with Braun Strowman. Then you have the New Day, the Usos, against the Bludgeon Brothers. I think I'm going to go with the Usos. I think they've had a really good year, and it would be deserving for them to win at WrestleMania. Then they have The Miz, Finn Balor, and Seth Rollins. I'm going to go with Finn Balor here. It feels like it's his time. He feels like he deserves it. We have Orton versus Rude versus Jinder Mahal versus Rusev. It's got to be Rusev. It's Rusev Day, obviously. Today is Rusev Day, so why wouldn't Rusev win? Asuka versus Charlotte. I have Asuka. I think she has to win, but it's tough. Like, then she comes over to SmackDown. It's hard to say, but I'm going to go with Asuka. Next up, Alexa Bliss against Nia Jax. I think I have Alexa here. It's tough, but I do have Alexa. Next, we have Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. It just has to be Ronda Rousey, right? Like, there's no way Ronda Rousey loses her first match. No way. Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I have Sami and Kevin here. Just... it makes sense. Like, I guess if they lose, they just go to Raw, but that's, I don't know. I think it has to be Sami and Kate. It feels weird to have Daniel Bryan lose his first match, but, like, I don't know if you can have Ronda and Daniel Bryan both win, or vice versa. I'm not really sure. The final thing is Cena versus whoever. So I guess, let's say Taker does come back. If Taker comes back, I have Taker in this match. So, just to kind of put it up here, those are my picks. You can screenshot this if you'd like. So if I get 6 out of 11, if you think I have 6 right, then make sure you comment down below. If you think I'm completely off base, make sure you comment down below. And all the people who get it right are going to be entered into a contest for something. So if you think these picks are correct, say so. And if you think these picks are wrong, say so. But, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Again, if you like this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you have any deck list submission ideas, make sure you send them to Pauper Ponderings right there. Yep. And, yeah, have fun this weekend. Hopefully watching WrestleMania. Thanks for watching, guys.